A happy new day to you all. My name is Rebekah Awuah. It is another edition of the Reporters Roundtable on your news channel, Cpp'S 24, and we tackle the issues from all angles and from all sides. Now, the Convention People's Party over the weekend launched a 2016 manifesto based on 4 pillars, thus social policies, economic policies, responsive governance, and international relations. Within these policy areas are 4 short-term priority areas that the party intend to address immediately it is elected into power. These are job creation, essential social services, public safety, and managing the country's resources. The party also used the occasion to launch 2 other documents, the gender policy document and the communication document for the party. The 43-page documents also have special policies for persons with disabilities, and therefore it is not surprising that the party is enjoying a lot of support from the disability group. The party's flag bearer, Ivor Greenstreet, during the launch took a swipe at the NDC and the NPP for plunging the country into economic hardship for the past 24 years. It is time Ghanaians change the leadership of the country for better to bring dignity to Ghana, as the NDC and NPP for the past 24 years have offered Ghanaians nothing but lies and exploitation of the nation's resources, he said. The time has come for all well-meaning Ghanaians to rise up and change what he describes as pirates plundering the country. It is only a CPP government that can redeem the country from the economic or the current economic difficulties. All said and done, it is no denying fact that the CPP has not been so strong since the overthrow of Ghana's first president, Dr Kwame Nkrumah. It is for this reason that the chairman of the party, Prof Edmund Nmenye Delle, said the CPP, tagged as a sleeping dog giant or as a sleeping giant, is now wide awake to liberate the country from the economic and social doldrums that the NDC and NPP have subjected Ghanaians to for the past 24 years. The CPP, according to him, has a track record, and nobody can dare say the party cannot perform when given the mandate. On today's program, we will subject the Cpp Manifesto to critical analysis and see how different it is from the other parties. It is a Reporters Roundtable, and with me to do the discussion or this analysis is Susan Edu Amankwaa. She is the second vice chairperson of the CPP and a friend of GBC 24. We all know her. Wilberforce Asare is a journalist with the EIB group, STARR FM to be precise. He is also in the house. He covered the launch of the Cpp Manifesto and will share with us his thoughts. We'll be joined later in the studio by Dr. Eric Odrosine, who is the Dean of Graduate Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Government Studies, and Martha Crentsil Acquah is a news editor with JoyNews. And I am your chief servant, Rebekah Awuah. I can't wait to have your calls. I can't wait to have your text messages. You can also send us your suggestions or your comments via Facebook page, Reporters Roundtable. Send me an email, reportersroundtable@gmail.com. Right here on the show, we'll be glad to read them. Right. Welcome, gentlemen and ladies. And ladies, we will be joined by Dr. Odrosine later. But let me start with you from my extreme left, Martha. Share with us your thoughts on the CPP Manifesto.
Thank you for having me on the program. I am impressed, for one thing, that there wasn't much fanfare about the manifesto launch, unlike the others. I'm impressed that it was launched with the Braille and the other versions at the same time, so that we will not have to wait and ask when CPP is going to do that. I am excited that at least it is not an afterthought, because when you launch one and you're doing the other one, it looks like an afterthought. And the issues they are raising are current issues we are facing. So if the CPP has solutions to them, it's a good idea. But how they are going to implement it is my major concern. So once we have Susan here, I'm sure she's going to explain further, and what we didn't see in the manifesto, reading them, will come out clearly, and maybe some of my questions I have will be answered.
Great. Is that sorry?
Well, I think that the Convention People's Party has taken a giant step coming up with Apam Foforo. I like the name Apam Foforo because it sounds more biblical. New Covenant.
The New Testament.
New Covenant.
Okay.
Or, yes, you can also say New Testament. So I was excited. I had the opportunity to be at the launch. I anchored the program for STARR News for about 2 hours, and I was excited about it. I think what interested me most was the particular attention on persons living with disability. It appears like they were the majority at the ceremony, and the attention given to them is interesting, maybe for obvious reasons, but it is important that people in our communities who are living with disability are giving special attention. Elsewhere in the world, they receive top attention, and I was excited that it featured prominently in the Cpp Manifesto. The last thing that I probably will say is that gradually our country is moving to the point where we need a third force, and if the CPP says that they are now alive and that they are going to be the third force, I think it should be welcome news. I am particularly interested in how they will fare in election 2016, because it will form the basis of the arguments that will be doing to show whether or not they are actually going to become the third force that we are all looking for.
Okay, I know Susan is poised. I know if she can really talk very well, but I'll come back to you. Let's give you a feeling of what happened over the weekend. We'll play a video for you, something little on what happened over the weekend during the Cpp Manifesto launch.
Convention's People Party is the fourth to launch its manifesto for the 2016 elections after the NDC, NPP and the APC. Christian the Apam Foforo, which signifies the Nkrumahist new covenant with the people, is also a reflection of their aspirations. According to its chair, Professor Edmund Delle, the CPP will not renege on its promises to the people, especially the youth. He psyched party faithful to arise from its dormancy to wrestle for power.
The presidency of Honorable Ivor Greenstreet will definitely redress the iniquities of the past and shall set Ghana on the right footing for development. The future of prosperity shall thrive on the theme of oneness of the Ghanaian people. The future abhors tribalism, and the future rejects factionalism and sectionalism.
The vice presidential candidate Nana Gabi Nketia entreated Ghanaians to give the CPP the mandate to reverse the falling standards in society. Among interventions the CPP seeks to implement are to end the borrowing syndrome that has resulted in a 70% debt of GDP against the growth rate of 3%. The CPP says it will decrease the country's debt by 30% and increase GDP to 12% by 2020. The minimum wage will also be 13 cedis. Other highlights of the manifesto focused on persons with disability, responsive governance, foreign policy, agriculture and social policies.
The CPP will do the following: significantly reduce income taxes for teachers and health personnel, in addition to other incentives for those who work in rural areas and places designated as deprived. Use tax incentives for the private sector, especially financial institutions, to build school infrastructure, and in particular areas of the country, lease that infrastructure to the state for a specific period, after which it becomes state property.
A member of the CPP, Mr. Kwesi Pratt, said Ghana is ready for a president living with disability.
There are some people who think that we made a mistake in electing Ivor Greenstreet as the presidential candidate of this party. Why do they say that we made a mistake? Because he has some weakness in his lower limbs. We prefer people with weaknesses in their lower limbs to people with weaknesses in their thinking capacity. We prefer weaknesses in their moral upbringing and moral uprightness.
Flagbearer of the CPP, Ivor Greenstreet, told the electorates to vote massively for the CPP, frowning on the imposition of genetically modified organisms and the Economic Partnership Agreement.
We must bring back our dignity as a nation. A nation without dignity is susceptible to abuse and corruption. And that is what we see before us today in all spheres of national life. We are abused by our leaders who fail to care for the people, and our society has become endemic with corruption. 24 years of the NDC and the NPP, 24 years of arguments, vindictiveness, divisiveness, rancor, and darkness. And yet, we have had enough. NDC and the NPP, Yebaku, they are the same. Dukadaya, we have had enough. And as we are here today, we are launching a true manifesto. A true manifesto of ideas that represent justice, hope, opportunity, progress, and development.
Launching the manifesto, Mr. Greenstreet said the CPP-led government also intends to make postgraduate education free of any charges for doctors. The CPP's 2016 manifesto is also published in Braille and Sign Language formats.
Okay, so that is a gist of what happened over the weekend, and let me remind you that this program is proudly supported by HealthWest Ghana and also by Ashrifia Wear. In fact, my attire is provided by Ashrifia Wear near Adentang Goil Filling Station, and I would want to say a big thanks to Mrs. Amankwaa of Lunch City. Mommy, we love you so much. We thank you for the help you give us almost every time, and to the proprietress of Liberty American School, we are much grateful for your support too. Thank you so much. It is the Reporters Roundtable. We are still here. Okay, Susan, I'll bring you in. I love your smiles. Let me come to you, Mr. Sari. Equating the CPP manifesto to that of the NDC and the NPP, do you find much difference in terms of approach? Oh.
Okay, so a careful look at the CPP manifesto will tell you that they had 4 thematic areas, just like the NDC also had. NDC also had 4 thematic areas. The NPP did not have 4 thematic areas. They had 18 chapters, and the NDC thematic areas is just 4 major, and then the other sectors are like subsets of the main, just like the CPP has done. The NPP decided to do 18 chapters, what means that all the various issues that they wanted to talk about, all 18 issues were separated in different categories. So that is my first observation. The CPP manifesto had social policy, economic policy, responsive governance, international relations, and I think that there was a 5th one, which is the persons living with disability.
Yes.
That are sub.
It falls under social policy.
Okay, all right. So that's what I see. I think that it is important that the political parties are looking more organized, and more organized in the sense that they have sat down and analyzed the Ghanaian situation, and they think that we can categorize our challenges, our issues under these 4 main, and then after that break them down. So if you look at all the manifestos, you would clearly see that a lot of work has gone into all the various manifestos we have now. I think we also have the APC manifesto, but we don't have that here now. But a bit of work has gone into it, into developing it, and I think it is good for our body politic going forward.
Martha, would you say there's a sharp contrast?
No,
in terms of approach.
Not really. It's the way they want to present it, but the issues they are talking about are almost the same, except that the CPP has added on, and the focus seemed to be on reclaiming our natural resources, and you have the NDC talking about putting people first, and then you have the NDC talking about putting people first, you have the NPP talking about creating jobs. So it's all towards the same goal, but how they presented it looked different. So where is your focus in taking Ghana to where Ghana is supposed to be? You think, a CPP thinks reclaiming our resources will put enough money in our coffers to be able to do the all other things. NPP thinks when you create jobs, you're going to empower the people, and that is going to move the country forward. And then you see the NDC wanting to focus more on infrastructure. So they're now telling you, I am going to build more of that, more of schools, more of hospitals, more of roads and all that. So really there aren't much difference. Yes, some highlight more of persons with disability issues than others, but the focus almost the same for me.
Okay, the beautiful Susan, what is that distinguishing factor about the Cpp Manifesto from all others?
Okay. Yes, on paper it looks all the same, but we are coming from a certain place where we believe we are socialists and Nkrumahist, more importantly, Nkrumahist. Nkrumahist meaning that we are socialist with an African outlook. We are socialist with African personalities because we believe that we cannot develop using other people's culture, but we can only develop within our culture. We are socialists because we believe that there must be equity, across board. And so we come from certain principles where we talk about social justice, that anybody in this country, no matter the circumstances of your birth, you were put here for a reason, and because of that you must rise to your highest potential, given the opportunities to rise to your highest potential. We also come from self-determination. Like we said, we're Africans and we know our culture and we know who we are. We can only do it ourselves. Nobody can do it for us. The countries that have developed, they have developed by themselves. They have looked at their situation and said to themselves that this is the way we want to go and gone that way. And that's why they've reached it. So self-determination, nobody's going to do it for us. We will have to do it ourselves. We'll have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. And of course, Pan-Africanism. We are not an island. We have other African brothers and sisters, and whatever they do impacts on us, and what we do impacts on them. So we must rise together. We believe that black people anywhere and everywhere will only get the kind of respect they deserve if Africa has pride of place among the continents. You cannot pick a Chinese child in America and mistreat that Chinese child anyhow. You know about the killings that have gone on of black people in America by policemen. You think that it would happen to Chinese children? Do you think it will happen to British children or European children? It won't, because the European Union or the British government will call the American government and say, I don't think I like what is happening to my people, even if they are still Americans, but I have ancestry that are like that. So if Africa had its pride of place, and black people were being treated like that, obviously you would have to answer to us, and things will not happen. So we think that the continent has to take its rightful place among other continents, so that black people anywhere and everywhere will be given the respect that is due them.
Okay, so with all that you have said, where is it situated in your 4 thematic areas? I find here social policies, economic policies, responsive governance, and international relations. Can you summarize in a bit? So
I'm saying that these are the principles that underline the policies. You must have principles for your policy. The reason why you do something, and it will also inform how you do it. You get. So that's why I explained the principles that we believe in and how we So we can take the sectors by sectors. Let me give you an example. with social justice and education. Now, in believing that education is important and that education, your people can only reach far if they have the right kind of education. And you take your principle of social justice, you will not just be looking at schools in urban areas, etc. You would want to ensure that the quality of education of schools in Agroyesu or in Tumu or in Hamale is the same as the quality of education you get in Trasako or you get in Switchback Road you understand, and that a child in Switchback Road, in a school in Switchback Road, should have the same opportunities as a child in Agroyesu or a child in Tumu or a child in Hamale. You get it. So that is social justice in terms of looking at it from our educational point of view. Now, if you, in terms of economy, when we talk about our natural resources, I always give this example of possession is not ownership.
Sure.
Yes, but the mundane example. You know the boys who sell handkerchiefs on the road. Okay, he's selling handkerchiefs and he's sweating, yet he's using his arm sleeve to wipe his face. He is in possession of the handkerchief, but he doesn't own it. So right now, what seems to be happening is that we possess the natural resources. It is in the ground. We have the timber, we have the cocoa, we have the gold. Mention it, we have it in large quantities. And yet we don't have ownership of it. And because we don't have ownership of it, we are poorer for it. We are getting royalties that are going nowhere. You understand? So when we say we want to take hold of our natural resources, we want ownership. Not just possession, but we want ownership. So it will underline the kind of agreements that we would have with foreign nationals. Technology transfer is important. If at the moment, the reason why we will bring in foreign interest, basically, it will be because of technology. You get it. They have the technology, and we want to get it out. What can we do at a certain point in this thing so that we can get the technology? So we will get into agreements, and that with those agreements, our end goal is ownership, and so we would fashion the agreements such that it becomes a win-win, and in the end we have ownership, not just possession and ownership. So these are the examples that I'm giving. When I talk about self-determination in terms of responsive governance, we give the example of devolution. We as socialists, we also believe in subsidiarity, that what the smallest body can do, let them do for themselves, and then the bigger body comes to do the things that the smallest body can do. Look, you can sweep your compound, you can weed your house, but you cannot go and fix the road in front of your house. Even if you did, it's just your house that you do, but you have to pass other roads to get to your house. So you have a local government. So the local government has to do that. So subsidiarity, you do what you can do, and then the local government does what they can do. Then the bigger government also does the bigger things that the local government can't do. So we start with devolution, power to the lowest level, where people there are choosing their own DCs. They make their DCs accountable to them. After all, that the power is the people's. You get it. So they go and they vote for, if they can vote for a president and they can vote for a member of parliament, what shows that they are not capable of voting for a DCE. The DCE then becomes accountable to the people. It becomes accountable to them. They have determined this is the way we want to go in our area. This is the way we want our education to go in our area. Self-determination. We have decided the future that we want, and then we work towards it. So that is the sort of thing that and of course, like I said,
and international relations,
Pan-Africanism. Look,
I'll come to you.
When I say Pan, you see, like I said, we're not an island. We cannot do it alone. Ghana alone, if we said we were our market is 24 million, but we have a market of 300 million and counting if we took Africa as a block. You get it? And if we took Africa as a block, I mean, in a country like Congo alone, they have enough water to power cities upon cities and even countries. You get it. If it's harnessed properly. I mean, in countries like Sierra Leone, where they were picking diamonds off the ground, can you imagine if we had formed as a continent, as one, as you have the United States of America, you'll be dealing with such a rich continent, and nobody will come and plunder and go away. So our focus is not just to be Ghanaians, but to realize that we are Africans and we're put here for a purpose. We must do that. So everything that we do is interrelated with not just ourselves, but our neighbors, and so forth and so on, in building us to be stronger, So that's how our principles underline all. Yes.
Okay. Let me go to my journalist. With all that Madam Amankwaa has said, isn't something that the present government is doing, and therefore one will conveniently say that then why not? Because when it comes to international relations, there's a ministry that takes care of that. Regional integration is there. When it comes to responsive governance, we have people at the local government pushing that agenda. When we come to economic issues, especially for natural resources, it is the president holds it on and on behalf of the people of Ghana, and there's a sort of win-win situation. They have dialogue when it comes to natural resources and all of that, and social policies. We have schools, we have social interventions, LEAP and all of that, and already serving our people. So why the need to rehash all these things into policy or thematic areas?
I wanted to react first.
Yeah,
to the Pan-Africanism call and all that. When Madam Amankwaa was speaking, I got the impression all this can only be achieved if we bring our brothers together, if we bring our sisters together. That is the regional integration and all that. You have AU, you have ECOWAS, you have all that in place now. But what I see is that individual countries are moving on. They are not waiting for a brother who is lagging behind. They are not interested in pulling them. On paper, they seem to be. But when it comes to my individual development, I am doing what I can. And that is why we keep giving ourselves examples of our neighbors who have moved on, who we set the pace for, but have overtaken us some way, somehow. So when the policy is focused on Pan-Africanism, Nkrumahism, which we've been preaching for God knows how long, and it doesn't seem to be catching on, that is my opinion. Yeah. It doesn't seem to be catching on with our brothers in the diaspora. Maybe it is, but it is not thick and fast enough for us to be able to capitalize on that, to build our continent. Nkrumah's idea was good, to get all of us going together. He was a big brother who wanted to pull all of us along. But at a point, it wasn't working. You have people within who were making it impossible for it to work. But right now, if we have moved on, and they have moved on, why are we still putting our policy or telling our people that our policy is going to be based on this, or this is going to be a factor at all, no matter how small that factor is going to be, whether it's going to be a big influence or a small influence? I am thinking it should be something that we should not even talk about now. Tell me you are going to reclaim because our natural resources, because when you look at our oil, we are getting some pittance when we can get more. And so I am going to renegotiate all agreements again and make sure we are getting value from the natural resources given to us. Because if you tell me how you're going to do it and you convince me enough, I will buy into it and I'll also own it because it is in the interest of Ghana. But if you tell me and it looks like I am going to wait for somebody to respond, that is another country, to respond to it before we move on, it will be difficult for me to buy into it. And talking about the government, current government doing almost everything, she is saying no. It is not so. If you talk about social intervention, there are people who still believe that the current social intervention we have can be better. So if CPP has an alternative to make it better, why not? we can go beyond LEAP. LEAP is not the panacea to all our problems. We can be given school feeding can now move from one hot meal a day for a child to grow better, nutritional meal to grow better, to maybe 2. You can have 2 meals for that child, breakfast and lunch, so that you can get more children to go to school. So it's not like the way the current government is doing it is the best.
Okay.
And so we have to tell CPP, lay back. They are implementing it. You have nothing to talk about more. I think if CPP has more to offer, it's a good idea. We can go for it.
Wilberforce.
Well, okay, so my take is that this election, I think, is revolving around job creation. And I will come to talk about the international relations aspects that my dear lady talked about. But I think that the election is revolving around job creation to the extent that almost all the places that I have been, everybody is asking for a job. The youth are asking for jobs. Nurses are asking to be posted. Teachers are asking for. So everybody in every sector is asking for opportunities to work. Graduates, there's a graduate association of unemployed something. So it appears like last 4 years election was driven by education. This year's election is driven by employment. And so what I would want to see political parties talking about is the processes with which they are going to create jobs. The president is on record as saying that should he get a second term, he will create 3 million jobs.
Yes.
The New Patriotic Party have in their manifesto 1 district, 1 factory, one village, one dam.
Yeah, whole manifesto is even couched.
Yes, and if you ask anybody in the New Patriotic, they'll tell you that all of those is because they want to use them to create jobs. That's what they'll tell you. I've been looking through the Cpp Manifesto, and I see a lot of things that they talk about there. They talk about their agriculture policy, they talk about their education policy and all that. I think that the Convention People's Party Manifesto needs to get stronger, or perhaps maybe they have another document a supplementary one that will emanate from the manifesto.
Not to catch you, sorry, but I think within the policies, as I read from my intro, they have 4 priority areas. It's like it's embedded in it that touches on job creation, essential social services, public safety, and managing the country's resources.
What I mean is that which of the thematic areas are you talking about? Is it social policy or economic?
It's just a subset under the 4 thematic areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking at the CPP engaging us a bit more into detail how they intend to create jobs for the people of Ghana, because that is what all across the country people are asking for: job creation, jobs.
Your take.
Okay.
Do you have?
Let's see if I can address. Let me. It's a pity that he's saying that our manifesto is weak. That a manifesto is your intent. It's not going to give you facts and figures, and you have 300 million. It's what. No.
Looking at
it meets some people's needs. It may not meet everybody's need, but to describe it as a weak manifesto, that's sad. But let me finish.
Let you come down.
But I mean, the thing is that manifestos are your intent, and this is what we intend to do. And what are the principles that underline your intent? You understand? Once you get what the principles are that underline my intent, and I say this and this and this, really the details of it will come through interactions. Okay, we will not put every under normal circumstances. CPP manifestos have always been rather small, and they have not changed radically from the Nkrumah's days, except that because we're in contemporary times and things have changed, we have tweaked it to suit modern times. But the principles, so as an Nkrumahist, if you understand what my principles are about, and I say this is what I want to do, you would understand how I will go about it. So that I take exception. I take exception to that.
Right,
but let me
creation.
Oh, the lady spoke. I think we need. I will get to it. She said, why are we worried about Pan-Africanism, etc., etc.? Now, we hold this country not for ourselves or even for our children, for our children's children. It is a conversation that has gone on for a long time, may go on for a long time. You have to bring minds to it. There is nothing wrong with individual countries becoming stronger, and we wish them well to be stronger. If you are in a family, okay, wouldn't you rather be in a family where everybody is a pharmacist, is an engineer, is well to do and can look after themselves, so that they don't come begging for you, than you be in a family where you are the only educated person and everybody else is down there, so they all look up to you? I'd rather be in a family where everybody is well grounded, is doing the right things and lifting themselves up. So there is nothing wrong with people building their countries and making their countries stronger, because when they make their country stronger and we are able to have the discussion and bring all minds to it, that Africa needs to be taken as a whole, you get it, we will be better off for it. So yes, let them go on building their countries. We will build it. But let us start looking at the principles that make sure that it happens, because it will not happen overnight. If it could happen overnight, I'm sure Nkrumah would have let it happen overnight. So that conversation for us, it will continue to underline a lot of things that we do in terms of dealing in international relationships. We are going to look at it. Is it good for Ghana? Is it good for Africa? Is it good for us as a people? You get it. You talk about the ministry and NEPAD, and look, have you traveled to Togo before? Or
yes, I have been to Togo.
Was it that easy just to cross the border?
No, it wasn't.
Thank you. So it means that we do the nice talk up, but it has not gone to the ground. Okay, when CPP talks about it, it's because for us it's a policy of conviction that this is the way we want to go. So we will ensure that it goes to the ground, so that gendarme there, we would have talked to the Yadamas of Togo in such a way that gendarme there knows that he's not supposed to put impediments in your way. Let me tell you something. Even the Nigerians who are so close to us, a time came in this country where we were producing cassava starch, yet the Nigerians were buying their potato starch from Europe. And we had NEPAD, and we had Ministry for Integrated whatever. And yet the Nigerians were buying their starch, potato starch, instead of cassava starch, which was of the same quality, if not better, as that of the potato starch. That all must change. If that thinking changes, a market like Nigeria, we will produce enough cassava to open up jobs for people. And of course, then it comes to job creation, because Nigeria is taking your cassava starch, okay, and you have farmers who are doing the growing the cassava. They are getting better yields. You are expanding their farms. You are helping them to form corporations. So Pan-Africanism is not just about us. It's also about creating jobs. You get it. You will make ECOWAS work the way it's supposed to be working. That the ideal is that instead of Nigeria taking its things from abroad. Look, there are companies here who are multinationals and produce some of their products in their Nigerian factories. And Ghanaians also produce some, and then we do the exchange. So they bring some of their products here, we bring it. It's the same company. And yet, sometimes our things go to Nigeria and sit in the ports forever. That should not happen. You get it? So it's not, when we say it, we're not just saying it, we say it because we know where we are coming from and the things we want to change. But let me...
And how do you hope to, if elected into power, how do you hope to get these things done?
Well, you see, the talking is going to go on. We're going to have you cannot force them. Why can we go and annex Nigeria and force them? No. But the kind of conversation that makes them look at it in our direction, those conversations must go on. The factory that I'm talking about, nobody in government was helping them to deal with that situation. but we will take an interest in it and help them to deal with the situation. We will go and sit there and talk with the Buharis and say that, look, why are you taking potato starch from there? Don't you see the bigger picture? Okay, what can we do to exchange in such a way that you also, if it is a win-win, we can also get it? Is it corruption? Is it that somebody's pocket, you want to get rid of corruption? Somebody in Nigeria is getting money from potato starch out there.
We have bodies like ECOWAS, AU, and all of that.
But that is why we're saying that the bodies are
bilateral relations, and yet African countries are not abiding by these things.
But from what you're saying, we should throw our hands up in despair.
That is no. That is not my point. I am telling. But the point is, there are people who are supposed to ensure that these things happen as Africans.
So then we will make sure that it happens. That is what we are saying. That we come from certain policies of conviction, that is the only way to go, and we will force to make it happen. Right. Look, you can have two people who believe in the same thing. One takes a certain attitude towards it and does not get it done. One takes a certain attitude, persists and gets it done. That is what we are saying, because we believe that is the way to go. We are not going to say that, okay, Pan-Africanism has nothing to do with us and this, let's concentrate on our own, because we know that whatever it is affects us. You get it. If Ghanaians are at a point in time where we're producing enough food to send food to Ivory Coast, to send food out, if we are Ghanaians at a point in time we're producing enough energy to give some to our neighboring brothers, why can't we not do it again? You get it. Look, when in Nkrumah's time, there were so many jobs that we had to bring in foreigners to work for us. That is what happened when we had the aliens compliance thing, and the UP people sent people away, because Nkrumah had invited people in to come and take up jobs that were made available. At an even point in time in our history in this country, and I'm sure many of you don't know, that we cut the education from Form 5 to Form 4 so that people could start work. We gave them the kind of education that enabled them to cut 1 year so that they could work.
And that is what the CPP is promising now.
That is what we are saying, that we come from a certain history where we know that it has been done before, and that this new crop, who we say that is a new covenant with you, we want to prove to people that leaving us in the doldrums for so long and sticking to NDC NPP doesn't give you choice. Look, if you use a particular soap to bath all the time, this is what I used to bath, and then one day you go to the shop and you say, okay, today I want to feel audacious, I want to feel adventurous, let me pick another this thing, and you try it and you realize that, oh, I didn't know that this soap smelled so good and it made my skin so beautiful. But if you hadn't taken that risk and decided that soap is all soap, so I'll be clean, you will be sticking to something that is inferior when there's better out there.
Okay.
Another one.
Let me quickly so that I bring in my...
No, but you see, because I'm answering to the two of them, it will seem that I'm talking longer. But we talk in terms of holding ourselves up high as black people. Look, Obama became president of the US as a black man. Go and ask the black people there how radical their lives change. If one germ, one germ comes out and it does not bring the whole crowd to it, you will continue to be second class. So no matter how good Ghana becomes out there, okay, and we are running well. We have countries like Botswana, we have countries like South Africa that are doing fairly well. But you think that when they go somewhere, somebody thinks Africa is one country. He doesn't care whether you're coming from Botswana. He's not reading about that. Oh, you come from Africa. Oh, you're all the same. You get it? So we must move up. But job creation.
I will come to that. I'll come to that, but let me give you the take two.
Yes,
a quick reaction so that we go for
on the international
and whether CPP is the option with the example, the soap example that she gave. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that if I did not see anything about international relations or foreign affairs in the manifestos, I'll be very worried. It's important that it's there. Now, this issue about Pan-Africanism, I think, is not enough. When I say it's not enough, what I mean is that just leaning on the Pan-African agenda is not enough in the current world that we live in. The world has become so much of a global village that if we just want to think Africa, then we probably will be lacking back. I think that the conversation needs to go beyond Africa now. Africa is important, but Africa in itself, if you come to the African continent, we are so divided by way of foreign issues that just focusing on ourselves will not be enough. We need to go out there and explore, leapfrog, and get some of the things that the advanced world has done into what we are doing. So CPP's foreign agenda is not only limited to Pan-Africa, at least they have relations with the rest of the world. I see it in the manifesto. So they are also looking at the rest of the world. I also have the NPP manifesto. They also are looking at other issues. But I think that the real thing I want to concentrate on is the fact that our relationship as a country, Ghana, with the rest of the world is extremely important. We have to look beyond just developing the African agenda that probably our founding father had about the fact that Africa must be united. For a very long time now, we've been trying to unite Africa. We have not been able to do it. And all of the African countries we have now, we all go out there trying to get help from the people who are outside of Africa. That agenda of uniting, perhaps to me, is the most important thing that anybody can foster as far as Pan-Africanism is concerned. But in terms of our development right now, until we are able to do that, we are able to unite the African continent, it will be very difficult for us to say we are looking just at ourselves to develop this continent called Africa. We would definitely need to consult the people outside our jurisdiction. Let's unite. I'm looking forward to President Greenstreet coming with the African unity agenda, revamping it, and making sure that we get there and have the United States of Africa.
I think once you are coming into power in Ghana, you address the needs of Ghanaians first, and then when you get there, you can do the other things. That is what resonates with the people. That's my opinion. And so there were people, I wasn't here in Nkrumah's time, but I've heard people talk about Nkrumah putting Africa first before Ghana. I don't know how they think he did that. But if you were talking about alternative, the alternative basically is for the electorate who will vote for you. And that electorate is in Ghana. So what is their need? Sell that idea to them. The others will follow. If you tell me you have done this before, you're coming from a history where it has been done before, there are still people around who were here in Nkrumah's time, who were here and saw it happen. What do they think about it now? They think it is good enough to go back to it. Who is selling the message now? To us. I wasn't here. Who is selling it to me now? Am I buying into the idea? And that is why I am saying, if you are putting it on that policy that was done before, which was doable, like you're talking about cutting 1 year off Form 5 so that you can go and work and all that. If it has been done before, then CPP has done it before. It has the track record. Let's give CPP the opportunity. But who is going to say that to the people? Tell me what I want to identify with first before any other thing will come in. Because if this is so good, what do you think is hindering the CPP from getting that opportunity? It means there is something wrong somewhere. There are people to testify to it. It is so good. We saw it happen. It transformed our economy. It made us a better people. It helped us pull the rest of Africa along with us. But why are we not doing it now? Why don't we think it is good enough now to make CPP the alternative? I want to find answers. What is hindering the CPP from becoming that alternative we need? If it has done it before and there are people to testify to it.
Okay, it is still the Reporters Roundtable. We are here discussing the Cpp Manifesto, the 2016 election, whether Cpp is the alternative, because as they say it, we have gone under, how do you put it? The doldrums of NPP and NDC. And we need to be liberated from that. So we'll be back and we'll be finding out from Madam Susan Amankwaa things they have put in their manifesto on the economy, education, job creation, international relations. We'll find out more about those. But please send in your text on 02444 75422 and send me that comment on our Facebook page. I'll be glad to read them. We are back.
But my name is Momin and I am a reporter. In 2012, I covered the elections extensively, but I never got an opportunity to tell you the stories behind the stories. This time around, there's a Reporters Roundtable where I, together with some of my colleagues, will be telling you the stories behind the stories.
Watch Reporters Roundtable and get in touch with some of the best brains in the field of journalism. It's a good program. All the best.
My name is Rebekah Awuah. Keep watching the Reporters Roundtable with GBC 24 this and every other Thursday. Welcome back to the Reporters Roundtable. We are looking at the Cpp Manifesto and Susan. Let's shift focus a little to the economy in your manifesto. Once others are trumpeting mismanagement, corruption, and all of that, the CPP is calling for a change, and as your flag bearer puts it, to bring dignity to Ghana. Is that to say that Ghana has no self-respect or esteem now, bringing dignity to Ghana?
Yes, it really doesn't. Let me give you an example. When we first attained independence and we were moving on as a country, if you met any other African and asked them where they were from, they would probably say Ghana. They wanted to be Ghanaians. They were so proud of Ghana because we were compared to countries like South Korea and Malaysia. And if you read The Economist of that time, it says that of the three countries who had received independence around the same time, we were the ones most likely to succeed. We had an education that was comparable to any in the world, and we would easily walk into jobs outside because people believed in the foundations that we came from. You get it? It's not the same today. We are having our children crossing the desert, and dying on the desert. Why would you want to leave? How many American children will cross the desert, will leave their American dream, okay, and cross the desert to go to another country for slave wages? You get it? So we have lost our dignity. I always say that what we got with Nkrumah, the greatest thing that he came is not the dam or the motorway or the silos or the things that we look now on, but the kind of belief in ourselves that we were capable of doing it on our own. When you have self-esteem, and believe that you are capable of doing it and you can do it, you have a certain attitude towards it. We've lost that attitude, and that's why we keep going cup in hand, begging and asking other people to do it. Look, there are many cases where you will find a young white man who is just an undergraduate comes here to do work and is called an expert, and then yet we have people who are experts actually here and know their ground, but because why? His government has given us money to do it, and if they give you 10 CDs, they're probably going to use 5 CDs for that consultant that is going to come, another 2 CDs for his running around. So the 10 CDs that they gave you, in actual fact, you only have 3 CDs because 7 CDs has gone back to them. Is that dignity? You get it. So we have lost our dignity, and this is one of the things. That's why I'm happy on Pan-Africanism, but not to the exclusion of anything. And it's not that our manifesto, is it all about Pan-Africanism? No. It's about what we will do for the people, because we believe Ghana first, Ghana last,
so what
Ghana
would the
always.
CPP do to bring dignity to Ghana?
One, it starts with our education. The kind of education that you give to people, the kind of psyche that you give to people. I think because I never remember it off by heart, but we had a youth group in this country where young people were taught love of work, love of country, punctuality, forbearance, striving for faultlessness. That is what they believed in. That is what they were taught at a young age. Okay, love of country. These days, go and pick any child up. They will rather, I have heard, some Ghanaian children say, "Oh yes, I went to America on my American passport." If you go and take half the middle income group, why? They're always running to go and have their children outside so that their children will have a different kind of nationality. Was that common in the past? No. So we want that the children that are here, we will build this country up, the kind of education that we will build up, for them to be confident that this is my country. I can do it. I can be better than who I am, and I will do it. So it starts with the kind of education that we will give. That is what will bring dignity. Of course, if the government is also doing the right things along the line, the things, making sure food production, there's food on the table, making sure that people have homes over their heads, making sure that people have jobs, that gives them dignity. If you have a job, no matter the slave wages, in the morning when you get up and you wear your dress and you know you are going to a job, that gives you dignity. Jobs give dignity, and we said we would take job creation as an important aspect of giving dignity to people. You get it? Because what is man without work? He seems useless. We need work to give us our humanity, and we need work to give us our dignity. And so when we think of it like that, in terms of what gives a man dignity, he must have a job. He must be able to put food on his table. He must have a roof over his head. He must be able to educate his children to the level that he thinks they can go on. That will be your focus. But I want to talk about, what do you call it, people saying that we are not selling our message. We are selling our message. I'm sitting here. I probably could be sitting somewhere else. But what am I doing? I'm sitting and selling my message. I will move from here, from door to sell our message. And we do it. We do it all the time. But for me, CPP being small now, it's not surprising. The greatest civilizations have always had those ebbs and downs and flows. You get it. You have a civilization that is at top of its peak. And when CPP was at top of its peak, it was at top of its peak. Okay? And nobody in this country ever thought that CPP will become a much smaller party. It is their time, and we are building, and we are gathering, and we will keep gathering. You see, attitudinal change is difficult. We have a young group of people who don't necessarily read and are not necessarily politically engaged. You get it? A lot of our young people are not politically engaged. We are talking. We will get there, and we will talk, and we will talk, and we will sell, and we will sell. Why is it that now, when I was growing up, Nkrumah was demonized, but now you see young people who wear an Nkrumah shirt, who believe, that when I was younger, even in our look, My hair is natural. My hair is natural.
That's good.
Well, let me tell you something. When I started doing my hair natural and I started twisting it into locks, you know what people said to me? Wow, nobody will take you seriously. I said, well, this is my natural hair. You will take me seriously when I start talking and realize that this is what I want. Now, if you take 5 women, 3 of them most likely have natural hair. Isn't it? We are shifting the way we think from moving away from straightened hair and going back to our kinky, because that is who we are. You get it? So if anybody tells me that Nkrumahism or our message is not relevant today in which we live in, but I see it in many things. Okay. And we will be able to get that trigger that makes young people vote for us. We will get it.
Right. Sorry. Do you think Ghana has lost its dignity?
Well, to the extent that people are wanting to leave our shores to go and seek greener pastures by all kinds of means, to that extent I agree that there is a problem which needs to be resolved, and it can only be resolved if we have a good economy running where people can find jobs that they can work and get paid and live the lives that they want to live. So to that extent I agree that there's some amount of work that needs to be done in order to keep people within the Ghanaian jurisdiction. I think that over the last 4 or 8 years, the challenge that we have had economically has to do with fiscal discipline or financial discipline, where it appears like we have spent more than we have. If you look at most of the budgets that have been presented, spending of state institutions, and everybody virtually has overspent their budget allocation, and so that has become one of the issues that whichever government is going to be in power come January 2017, we are looking for somebody who will be able to maintain fiscal discipline. Okay, so that what it means is that you have some money, you are managing it to you are not overspending, you are spending within your means, you are doing things within your means, but not just doing things anyhow and ending up overspending. You rather borrow so that you can continue doing that kind of level of spending. So fiscal discipline is something that people want to hear governments talk about. The next thing that I think has become an issue is the empowerment of the private sector. It appears like one of the complaints that I have heard is the issue about overtaxation of people in the private sector. It appears like we have become a tax-driven economy more than a production-driven economy. So everybody is looking for, when I say everybody, I mean the government is looking for an opportunity to tax everybody and everything. And people have complained that the taxes have risen so much that it's affecting their activities. So industry and private sector is looking at a government that will ease taxation on them as far as their work is concerned. So that's also one of the important things that I want to talk about. I've been going through the Cpp Manifesto, and I see that they have something about fiscal policy and monetary policy.
Yeah, I'll come to that. I'll find out from Aunt Susan what the CPP is going to do to manage the country's debt profile. But let me have a quick reaction from Martha on what Aunt Susan said concerning Ghana losing its self-esteem. And
I agree to some extent that we've gotten to the point, like Wilberforce said, our people want to leave the country at all costs. They don't care whether they die in the process or they make it to wherever they are going. So far as they are going to engage in some menial job, do something to make ends meet, they will leave, because they don't see. And you know, when you get to that point, it means you've lost hope in the economy, in the systems that should work for you. And so you are trusting that when you go out there, and at that time you block the dangers that you're exposing yourself to. And that is why when she says we've gotten to that point, yes, you hear some of the stories and then you ask yourself, when you go to somewhere in the Banafo region, you have a whole place that they actually train people on how to cross the desert through Libya.
Oh, really?
Yes. they have it like an institution. They train them. So they have those who have gone as far as they went to and they couldn't make it, they couldn't get to their destination, had to come back. So they offer the training and they save towards that. Their parents save towards that. So they give them all the money and they pray and hope that they'll get there and come back. It is only when the push factors get to that limit that you have people do some of these things at all costs to get out of the country. You have just a few people who are feeling that it's all okay. And then you have the majority of people who think there is no hope, so I must leave before the boat sinks. But is that where we are now? But if the CPP is promising that it's going to deal with this indiscipline, with our fiscal, our spendings, then it's going to help. Because when you go beyond it, you bring problems to the ordinary person. And like Wilberforce is saying, we have just a few people who are being taxed all the time. Meanwhile, we can do other things to raise revenue, like production. Now we are imports based. Our production sector is just so small. But if we have our natural resources, why can't we add value to them? Why can't we make it better and send it out there and bring in good cash? Why should we send it out and bring it to ourselves and buy it at exorbitant rates? It means we are not thinking fast. Maybe we are living a day at a time. We are not thinking into the future of what harm we are causing ourselves by doing things this way. So if we are going to be disciplined, if we are going to broaden the tax base so that we have more people paying tax, so that the burden will lessen on the few who are being taxed all the time, we are going to help the production sector to grow so that we don't kill the same factories we create. It's like we create them and then we kill them and we try and sell it off. That has been the should I call it craze now? Create, kill it, sell it. But if we create sincerely and we boost it, we give them subsidies, we let them work, they are going to create the jobs we need. They are going to strengthen the economy. The base is going to be strengthened and we'll be good to go.
Okay. All right. Madam.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, corruption is one key thing. It's a canker that is eating deep into our fabric. And it is one topmost thing on, as far as this election is concerned. Does it have space in your manifesto? And again, how is the CPP going to manage the debt profile of this country?
Let me see if I can address all some of these issues. Corruption. There's a corruption that arises out of need, and there's a corruption that arises out of greed. The easier one to deal with is the corruption arising out of greed. I think maybe I don't need to explain the corruption arising out of need, but let me, maybe for the sake of our viewership, if I give you 200 cedis to keep with me, with you, you're not a thief. You probably, in all honesty, will not take my 200 cedis. Yet, just as you were going home, you got a phone call that your daughter in secondary school has fallen and broken her leg, and that they immediately need 150 cedis to pay so that they can stabilize the leg. So, will you now say, okay, and it's 6 p.m. the banks are closed. Will you now say, hey, what will I do? Will you go and borrow? You're holding 200 cedis in your hand. You will go and take that 200 cedis and pay for the stabilization of your daughter's leg, okay, and say, I will pay back the money later. And maybe for some reason or the other, you are unable to pay back the money. So the following morning, I come. Your name is Rebekah. Yes. I'm so, Rebekah, I want my 200 cedis. And you're like, I had a problem. I said, I don't care. I want my 200 cedis. And I throw you in jail. I call the policeman. He gives you a few slaps and throw you in jail. You didn't intend to steal that money. You had a problem and you took that money. That is some of the corruption that has arisen out of need in certain situations where people have had to take money.
Can that be categorized as corruption?
Yes. It's stealing. Stealing is stealing is stealing. It doesn't matter
what the
No.
All right, let's find out the CPP agenda.
You can take it the way you want. This is how we believe that there's a corruption out of need. Now, the corruption out of greed is that, you sit in the comfort of your office, you know that if you put a full stop here and a comma here, a million cedis will come to you. And you do that not once, but you do it twice, and you do it 3 times. You get it. It's not like there's a need for you to have a million cedis. You understand what I'm saying? That one will have to be ruthlessly dealt with.
And how is the CPP going to deal with that?
Well, I mean, look at our Public Accounts Committee. They are coming out with things. We have the auditor and accountant general, all these people, they're coming out with things. We will make sure that the laws work. We will have the political will to make sure that it works and punish people. And once you start punishing people, look, we have a law on our statute. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't copy verbatim, but it says that public officials, if they take money, okay, and they use it, they misapply it, or they use it for their own personal gain, and they are able to, that you catch them and they are able to put it back, you should let them go. There's a law on our statutes like that.
Yes, they pay back.
You pay back and the person goes. And yet that poor man goes to steal a goat because he's hungry, just for a few cedis, and you throw him in jail for 5 years. There is a difference. So we will look at that law again and make sure that, because I could take that money, put it in a bank, gain interest, pay it back, and then I'm okay. But the act of stealing has gone on. You get it. And people ought to be punished for that. So we would look at the corruption out of greed because it's much easier to deal with, and you can deal with it immediately. You set up the investigation, you hear these things. A lot of the Public Accounts Committee, we hear things that we're always amazed, and people get away with it. People will not get away with things like that. So the corruption that arises out of greed, we will try and punish people for it. And that's it. The one out of need, in building the economy and making it strong, and making sure that people earn a living wage, that will automatically go dealt with. So, you see, there are a lot of things that we want to do in terms of also corruption, in separating the Minister of Justice from the Attorney General. You have a Minister of Justice who is a member of cabinet, okay? They bring something that has to do with another minister. Please, for crying out loud. It will take an extremely courageous person, to want to say that I'm going to prosecute this person and I'm going to follow it up. We're probably going to deal with it the way we've dealt with Woyomi over the years. Just throw it here, there, under normal circumstances, court cases can go on forever, and if you have this thing that is unwilling, it will even go on even longer than forever. You get it? But if you separate the offices, you have a public servant whose duty it is to look at corruption and punish people, and has no strings coming from the political elites or the political establishment, because he's a public servant. He will move up his ladder anyway. You get it? So that is one way that we're thinking of. You said 2 ways, okay. Actually. that is another way.
Another way. But I'll come to you. Okay. Let me find out from Mr. Asare whether what the CPP is proposing, separating the two, the Attorney General's department from the Minister of Justice. Is that a laudable idea? Because I know you have had some training with Fulham University concerning law and all of that.
Actually, yes. So I think that two political parties, the CPP and the NPP, have all been talking about the decoupling of the Attorney General's department from the Ministry of Justice.
Well, we've been talking about this forever.
Okay.
So don't make it sound as if the CPP is picking up from the NPP. This is something we've been talking about. No, the fact that you put us in the same sentence is no. This is something. If you go and pick our manifesto from as far back as, let's say, even 2000 or even
then of course it's a good thing. So even if the NPP is talking about,
so stick to it.
Okay. So what I see in the Cpp Manifesto beyond that is that they intend to strengthen some of the institutions that already exist, like STRAJ and the YOCO and all that. The other party, some other political parties are actually thinking about creating a prosecutor general's office to do prosecution of state officials who may find themselves in corruption. I think that it will fall in the category that she talks about, corruption that comes out of greed. Yes, I identify more with the one that comes out of greed because that is the one that you know that has intention behind it. So I think that that idea is good, that we decouple the two. If you have followed corruption issues that have bedeviled this government, especially the Woyomi scandal, you know that it has been a back and forth with the Aegis department in court, one court and the other to the Supreme Court and what have you. And it appears like nothing is being done, or nothing is seen to be done. So the decoupling and making them independent probably will help when it comes to issues of prosecution. But I think that another important thing that needs attention is that Ghana has a very fine procurement act that I think is Act 690, and implementation of the procurement act can go a very serious long way to curb corruption in the country. We have not had successive governments who are interested in implementing that act to the latter. And I'm challenging political parties that whoever becomes president or whichever power a political party comes to power, be it CPP or NDC or IPP or NDP or APC, whichever one, the Procurement Act needs to be implemented to the latter. If we do that, if we are going to go through, I've read a bit of it, but if you look at the provisions, excellent law to prevent corruption in our Ghanaian system, but nobody is willing to implement it to the latter. And that is the reason why we still have corruption in most of the state institutions, and some of the corruption issues we have had, like SADA and JIDA and what have you, they are all simply just because somebody was not willing. The recent one is the bus branding issue. Nobody is willing to follow the Procurement Act, the provisions in the Act to the latter. And that is why we have the challenges that we have. And so I'm challenging the CPP beyond decoupling.
But we have that in our. I mean, it's right there. We will ensure strict implementation of the Procurement Act.
Limited.
You know, and making sure that thresholds are.
I'm wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
So another thing is you were talking about passage of Freedom of Information Bill. I don't know if it's the same as the Right to Information Bill.
RTI is the same thing in Parliament.
It's the same thing. Yeah. So if you are going to ensure that it's passed, I guess this Parliament is going to pass it. But do you have issues with aspects of it that you intend to review?
Well, I mean, there have been enough issues with it.
Amendments,
so many. I mean, for it looks like every I and every T. I think that even the coalition that was forcing wanted it to be passed. Laws were made for us to make the society better. We were not made for the laws. I think that we shall pass it. We shall work with it. And as you work with it, you will be able to look at what is best. And if it is in Parliament, is always there to change it. It's been on the banner for 13 years. You know, 13 years in 2003, and we are in 2016. Yes, you know, they have tried to push it through so that they can say that we did it after 13 years. But you see, my thing is that you have tried the NDC. You've tried the
NPP.
You understand? And you have seen whether they have the political will to deal with the corruption. We have the procurement law. You have talked about the procurement law.
But
saying it's fantastic.
Actually,
and yet you've had a government that has not dealt with it properly.
Auditor General's report that is released. You have Public Accounts Committee. They go and sit there. They vet. They go through and through and through. And when they are done, the Public Accounts Committee makes recommendations. Some of them are never implemented, even though you have a powerful body as that making recommendations. I don't know what a CPP government will do about that. But if these reports come out and we find people culpable and we don't do anything, then it's as good as not even investigating, not bringing out the reports at all. Another big problem is the MMD, corruption at the MMDA level. You see, if you have people at that level corrupt, doing things, and nobody knows about them, and it comes to that level in Parliament, and we still can't do anything about it, we just talk about it, they come and sit there, the only embarrassment they get is that they are on national television, and people get to see that there was this money that went somewhere, nobody could account for it, and that ends it. Then we are not going anywhere. When it comes to public procurement, we still have problems with the law. You have a fine law, but when it comes to implementing it, people cut corners. I don't know what a CPP government will do differently to ensure that people stick to it. So that if you tell me that this one has to go outside the laid down procedures in the public procurement law, it is supposed to be so. And due diligence will still be done so that we don't have people taking advantage of that situation. Like the bus rebranding you mentioned, it wasn't an emergency need. There was no need. Maybe what we need to do now is the mental health problem we have at Accra Psychiatric Hospital. That is what should go under this, go beyond this law, for us to get medication and medical supplies for them. By bus rebranding wasn't. But we have too many of those cases going unpunished. And that is a big challenge. If CPP can fix, Ghana will be a better place.
Okay. There's this thing in your manifesto about building a new refinery. How is the CPP going to fund that?
Resources are not, they become. But you see, we didn't say we were building it. You see, and that's not what we said. Okay, what we said was that we will give out a second refinery license. Okay. Nowhere did we say we're building out. Okay. So you understand. What we have now, TOR, fantastic. But TOR is producing crude, is producing petroleum products, which have what we are calling the dirty diesel, 3,000 ppm. Now, to change the factory to go into the standards, the European standards of 50 ppm, you probably have to close down that factory because they cannot immediately shift to that one. If you give a second license and somebody comes for it, one, you're going to get that person must stick to the international standard that we're all clamoring for, which is 10 ppm sulfur parts. They immediately can be able to do that. They will employ people. We have the expertise. You know, when TOR closed down, a lot of its people left to the Saudi Arabia and all those places because they have the expertise. Now, if you put in a second thing, you have the expertise here to be able to get people to work here. We want to be the refining hub of this sub-region, okay? Nigeria doesn't seem to have the will to do that. We want to say we will give that license, we will support it to be put up, give the necessary and enabling environment for it to be put up, and it gives employment, and then we have other people bringing it here instead of taking it to Europe and wherever. Why don't they bring it here, especially when it comes to shipping costs, etc., etc. So it's something we want to do.
But how do the CPP intend to make Ghana a refinery hub in the sub-region where we have an issue where TOR is even struggling to
you say certain questions have to be answered. We looked at the TOR debt and we paid for the TOR debt. We want to know what the question that needs to be answered. What is left of that TOR debt? What is the status that nobody is telling us? Why should TOR still be in debt? Now, if we are still collecting those monies, and we are still collecting those monies, why is that money not being channeled to make sure that TOR produces? Of course, they started production a couple of months back. I understand they've closed down again. But they were able to start production and even declare a profit. If it can be done once, it can be done again. And if you put your mind to it and say, this is a priority, this is something we want to go, this is the vision where we want to be, such that TOR is working efficiently. TOR can only do so much. 90% of our crude is of our petroleum products are brought from outside. TOR is just doing a small percentage of it. You get it. If you put in another refinery and you do more of it and build on it, and then you get others to come to it. The thing is to want to do it and have the political will to do it. We're talking about the political will now in terms of what you have seen, that we have a public accounts committee, we have a auditor's general report, and nobody is taking action. We in the CPP, we said we don't care whose axe is God, because it is to our own benefit if we punish our people who fall out of line. You will retain us, won't you? If we come as a government and we are doing the right things, and even as painful as punishing your own people who fall out of line, Ghanaians will sit up and say, well, this is the government that we want. So the hard and the tough decisions, because we don't want to come in 4 years for you to be dissatisfied with us, and then you throw us out again, because you have the choice to throw us out again in 4 years. And then we will go back to struggling to come again. We would want to come and ensure that the trust and that leap of faith you made to vote for us, we live up to it. We have something to prove. That all politicians should not be tarred with the same brush, and we are different. And that's why we talked about Amankwaa. We are different. We want to make sure that you keep us so that Ghanaian dream is achieved. And so we will not come in 4 years and come and mess up so that you say that you know when you have choices to come in here.
I understand you saying it's a political will that you are telling us about now in the manifesto, but I think it makes more economic sense to me to strengthen the struggling refinery we have than to whether you're inviting private partnership to build another.
But I haven't said
to give.
You said that I not said no. I haven't said that we are not strengthening TOR, because that's not what I said. So no, because it gives an impression that I said that we are throwing TOR away. I said that look, we want, for example, we want to give. Let me give an example. I think it was Kenya or one of those places. They wanted to change from the dirty diesel of 3,000 ppm to the international side. That factory had to close down. You get it. So it is a gradual. You must do it gradually for the sake of our health. It must be done gradually. Now, if you are supporting somebody, not to close down, but to get to a level that you want. At that time, things are slow. Now you are supporting somebody else to build up, because you also have a bigger vision of not just TOR, but also of another refinery that is starting from scratch, doing the things that you want. So you can support TOR. It will take a while. But who says that you cannot chew gum and walk at the same time? So let's not make it sound like we are ignoring TOR
to that. It makes more economic sense to me as another Ghanaian on the street that you tell me that we are going to move TOR from where it is to this level. The talk about giving license to a second one is secondary to me. At this moment, I want to know what you would do about the existing one, so that when you can deal with that, I know you can do more. So if you start, you talk to me about giving license to another one, I don't think I will be so convinced when you can't tell me how deal with
you can win some.
So if it is not a viable business, close it down and move on. But if you keep it, sometimes
I don't think we have not said it's not a viable business.
No, that's not what she also means.
That's not what I'm saying. If it is not,
you are not convinced that it is good enough to multitask. Okay, no, I think that we can do it. It's a matter of making sure
without strengthening the existing one.
But that's not what I said. So don't put words in my mouth. I have said that TOR has a problem. That is what I said. You will have to refurbish TOR. You cannot just close it down and say it has to take. You have to refurbish it. You have to change certain processes. You have to change certain machines, etc., because it has been designed, in such a way that it's producing that kind of diesel. If it's not a one-day thing. Well, you shut it, you wash the pipes, and then, hey, let's do this new one. That is not how it works, okay? But while you are doing that, you can also be building, you've given a license and say, I've given a license. We want this. Once you start, you are starting from the standards. Meanwhile, I am refurbishing. So the fact that you have took a car and your car is giving you problems, okay, you would sit down and say, okay, my car is giving me problems, but it's a car I like, and this thing. Can I afford to get a new car? Yes, I can afford to get a new car and still repair my old car and keep it. And you look at it, can I maintain all the 2 cars? You will think bigger and broadly. I don't think we should limit ourselves into thinking small. It is in thinking small that has led us to where we are. We want to think big. Okay. We want to be audacious. We say that this is what we want to do and we will have the political will to do it. And it's unfortunate that people want to think small, but we don't want to think small.
You want to think big.
We want to think big. Look,
right.
we even want to bring, look, when you listen to us, we even want to bring back Black Star Line. Why? People will say, why do you want to bring Black Star Line up? But things must start with ambition. You must start by thinking big. We started Black Star Line when white people saw that no black person will be able to man a ship and own it. And yet we did it. Okay. The things that we were able to do, because people said, oh no, for my mind, it doesn't make sense to do this now and wait till then. That it was the mind of the UGCC that for their mind, independence was not necessary at that time, but in the shortest possible time. And yet somebody came and said, no, we want it now because it can be done now. Right. So for us, we can do it. But let me say,
I'll bring you in. Whatever you do.
Okay. Shortly. I want to say something shortly about this. What has shocked me is the fact that while our oil refinery has gone down, oil refinery has gone down, there has been an increase in private petroleum organizations all over the city and the country. It tells me that the business of import of oil is booming, and so there's no need in some people's mind to even make toll work. Because you see, people are importing the same oil product and they are selling. Some of the gas stations that we are seeing around are owned by the big shots and big people around. And so it is the import and export of it that is bringing them revenue. If TOR is operational, TOR will have to compete with this business avenue that is being created. But I'm thinking that competition should be the right thing to do. How is it that we have a refinery as a country? It won't work. But we go to other refineries, buy from them, and come and sell it to our people so we can make profits. It is the people who are making the profits who are behind the killing of TOR. And so we need political will. We need a government who will come and say that TOR, if we are even adding a second refinery, that is fine. I think it is fine. But if we don't get the first one working and we bring a second one, it will be an exercise in futility, if I can use that word. So I'm saying that we need a political will to get TOR working and compete with all these international or maybe local companies that are buying from international markets. And so because of that, we have to maintain our interests. It's a matter of business activity. And for me, that is the fear I have about TOR works 1 month, 3 months, it goes down. 6 months, it comes back, it goes down. It is political will. The CPP should tell us that when they are given the nod to rule Ghana, they are going to make sure that TOR works even if there is huge competition. TOR will still get to work and will stay in the competition. We cannot block the business people from bringing their oil, but it doesn't mean that we cannot produce locally to supply the local industries that we have here when it comes to their oil needs. It's extremely important. It's actually a burden for me because I see in our filling stations, some of them are even having names of individuals. Abi Baba filling station and Nana Ekuya filling station and something filling station. And that's because the private man must make money, and so let's kill our own local and let's get the private working, and it so much hurts me.
Well, this brings me to the question.
We are socialists.
I know.
And then I want to tell him, who built TOR? I want to ask. No, because it's obvious. Who built TOR?
No, you
see, the thing is that apart from it making economic sense to us, we also have a legacy to keep up. We also have the burden of a big shoe to fill. and make sure that Ghanaians feel that legacy. You get it. So for us, there are certain things that are non-negotiable. Like I said, ownership is not possession. We want ownership of certain things that we can say that we are doing it
ourselves. So with
ourselves.
the ideological opinion of the CPP, will we see state-run industries?
Some of them. You see, not necessarily all of them. I mean, what has gone has gone. What can be done again, we will do. Look, we have say that we would profile all the areas in terms of the natural resources of that area. It's easy to do. Now, if you took an area where there's a lot of silicon, and we did it before, we had the Abosu glass factory. Now it's in the doldrums, and the people are crying because it was the factory that was there for them. You get it. They had silica in abundance. It was good to place a glass factory there. We started doing glass, whatever, what they call it, fiber, optic fibers, and all those things. We were doing it, and all of a sudden we let it die off. And when it dies off, of course, you lose jobs in those areas. But that is the natural resource that is in that area. You want to keep the people there. You want them to have jobs there. You want them to live their lives there and keep the wealth in that area and let that area grow. We would look at the profile of this country where the natural resources are there and give value to those natural resources so that the people there can have jobs, the people there can have a life that is satisfying. So, look, we
isn't that in tandem with the one district, one factory? Because
the one district, one factory, we already did it. One district, one factory, we did it. As CPP, it's not, I don't have to say one district, one factory. Go and look at your history. Why did we do Asitari? Why did we do Commander?
But
we did it because
times have changed. The people of today don't know what happened in the CPP era.
You see, that unfortunately for us, that is the trap in which we find ourselves. Because when we start talking, people are like, "Oh, we are tired of you and the things you did." But when they are talking about what they have done and what they are going to do. And yet they don't want us to talk about our heritage and our history. You get it? But we have done some of these things before. We had a negotiation with the cattle headsmen. We said, bring your cattle. When you bring your cattle, you have grazing spots. When you are going, leave a certain number of your cattle behind so that we can have corned beef. I don't think you are too young to have eaten Volta corned beef. It was the most delicious of corned beefs ever. You understand? It was ever. You get it? So. And that was the kind of agreement. Now they come, they destroy our farms. How many of their cattle do they leave behind? They take their things after destroying our farms.
Okay, but let's shift attention now to energy subsector. It's a big issue.
Wow,
it's a big issue.
Yes.
Energy, yes.
Energy. But let me say something. Let me say something quickly.
Because our time is almost.
We have said we want to elect our DCs and our MCs.
At least that's the
NDC said it, and we went for a constitutional reform thing. And what did they come out with their white paper? They said that we are going to take 5 people, and then they'll go through something, and you choose 3, and then you bring the 3.
So
is that what? Is that
so
it?
they still propose.
I mean, really, look,
it's complicated.
The reason it doesn't even make sense. So not complicated, it just doesn't make sense.
So what are you proposing?
Come and stand there and say, I will do this. Because one, you then become accountable to the people there. Okay? If they don't like something you are doing, one, you must give accounts to them. We should be able to say that we are going to have a big billboard where you tell me the revenue you have collected from the markets, the one you've collected from the toilets, the ones you've collected this, and what you have done for it. And as MC, we will decide whether you have done enough or you have not done enough. Otherwise, we kick you out. What is happening now is that somebody sits in Accra and decides that, okay, a friend of mine, she brings in cups and plates. And she says if she can bring in 1 million cups and plates, she'll give me 10% of that. So every 1 CD, I get 1 CD. That's 1 million CDs. So they decide that every district needs cups and plates. And then they send cups and plates to every district, even when you have not asked for it and you don't need it. They will send you cups and plates. And then the small budgets that they give you, they will take the money from it. Is that what we want? That is what is happening. And we are saying, no, that's not going to happen. Central government will fund what central government can, but you will take hold of raising your revenue.
So you want it to be district specific. So you place in, you put in requests for what you actually need.
You will raise the revenue. Government will look at ways of matching you such that some of the bigger projects, as a district assembly, you will not do the highway that is coming to you between you and if you are in the districts, but the districts I know are too close together. But if you were between districts and there's a highway, you wouldn't expect the districts to do it. You expect central government to do it. So central government will do that. But the roads within the districts, okay, what the revenue that you are raising, what can you do to help it? When you take education, if you have doctors in that state, you have a hospital there, how are you going to retain the doctors there? If you have a school
subscribing
there,
to the one constituency, $1 million?
No, that is not what I'm talking about. I am saying,
you know, from all that, then my question.
You see, sometimes I laugh and I hear the NPP people talk, and I said that's all socialist talk. You see, and I suppose
They said they did a lot of social stuff.
At least,
but they did.
Interviewing, let's say the NDC, the NPP, and now the CPP. For my journalist, would you advocate for a consolidated, would I call it manifesto, for whichever party that wins power? Because it seems as if all that they are similar.
I agree with you, Rebecca. Rebecca, I agree. The point is that whichever, should CPP win election 2016, when they come into power, they have the benefit of the NDC manifesto, the NPP manifesto, and their manifesto. They are public documents. And they can adopt it and take all the good things that may be in it and leave the bad things and work with them. So it is political will. Yes. It's political will. The manifestos are public documents. and if they come into power, they have access to it and they should be able to use it.
In the interest of Ghana.
Yes. Even if they complain, the others complain that you have taken their ideas, no problem. I think if we have a consolidated document, it makes it easier. Whoever comes in, like the National Development Plan, whoever comes in continues. It will ensure continuity so that you will not come and cut out projects that have been started by the previous government just because you want to implement yours. If it's consolidated, when you come, you continue from where the other leave off. And it's
but you see that
I mean, but we in the CPP, we subscribe to the National Development Plan,
yes.
and say that with the national, it's taking us to when Ghana will be 100. You know, so when we are 100, where would we want to be? And we do believe in that, because if you take out what it is, the principles, your beliefs, and your conviction on how it should be done. So if we say this is where we want to take our education, okay, this is where we want to be in 100 years, everybody will come and say, this is how I will get you there in the 4 years that I am coming. This is, and somebody will say, and then you would look at it and say, okay, how this person wants us to take us there will bring us to point A, but somebody's own will take us even further to point B, and somebody's own will take us even further to point G, H, or whatever. Okay. You get it. So that's
the PP's agenda, the CPP's agenda for our current energy crisis. Anything you're selling?
Well, I mean, definitely we will have a crisis, whatever government comes in 2017. I mean, let's not fool ourselves.
What are you proposing?
It's not over. There are two things. One, we definitely have to look at our debt and see how we can, solve that debt problem, and put a certain mindset to it. Another thing that we think that we can do is to quickly build systems that will liquefy our gas. We're producing the gas, but we're not liquefying it. What that will do is that whatever gas we get, we'll liquefy it. We're able to store it, even if we have to bring some from abroad. At this moment, we haven't built any system that could liquefy our gas. We also have what is happening now, which we will expand on, and it has only recently occurred, but we have been talking about it, is that we have one system where they could only use the gas. But if you build a two system in such a way that the gas produces steam, and that steam can also produce energy, we would think about expanding that so that we have more for the same quantity of gas than what we are getting right now. So these are some of the short-term things that we will do. Long-term, we definitely want to see how much more. We talked about having a second refinery, and how much more of our products we can use here and look at it. But we also talk about wind. We talk about the wind corridor that we have in this country. This is natural, sustainable energy, and put in windmills and harnessing the wind in such a way that we can produce almost 9,000 megawatts of electricity. We have 1,000-kilometer wind corridor, and it takes about at least 2 million to put up one. We will find that money to do that and put the windmills across this 1,000-kilometer wind corridor so that we can harness the wind that is going. Look, big countries that are even using other nuclear, whatever, are turning to wind because of the greenness of it. And we have a president called Greenstreet, green, the greenness of it. You get it. Everybody is talking about climate change. We know that oil is exhaustible. It's a finite resource. It's something that, and we cannot continue just to do that. We must think about some energy that is sustainable, and one of it is wind, and so we'll definitely do that.
Okay, let me have you. I saw you nodding.
The manifesto says it be green or total support. So hopefully, well, I think that when it comes to issues of energy, it's a matter of concern for everybody. Yesterday, I slept in Dumso, and it was some way. If I am choosing the street language, it was very much some way. So I think that any proposal, any plan to rescue us from our current energy crisis should be welcomed. Whichever government wins power, and on the energy issue, I am not going to attack anybody. I'm not even going to attack the current government, even though I think they could have done a bit more as far as Dumso is concerned. But I'm thinking that going forward, 2017, January 7th, when we swear in a new president, I am thinking that the agenda to deal once and for all with this Dumso issue should be top on any government's agenda. That whatever plans, be it renewable energy, be it building more dams, be it using the wind, like Madam Susan is saying, whatever we can do, whatever technology is available, we need to employ them and solve our energy problems once and for all. Our country is developing fast, and because of that, energy is so important. I had the opportunity to travel out of this country into another jurisdiction, and it appears like when it comes to their energy issues, it is topmost. For a whole you cannot think about the lights going off in Manhattan. It's impossible, unless maybe there is something, maybe there is a natural disaster or something. But it's a central business district, all these huge tall buildings with businesses. The place is so fast that I just cannot think that there will be light off in Manhattan for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It will be disaster. If we want our country, our central business district like Accra, all other business districts to develop, we want businesses to be moving fast, then energy issues should become a national matter. We should take away the partisan nature of it and make it a national issue. Whoever becomes president, employ whatever resources available, and let's deal with it once and for all.
Martha,
I think as a country we've been relying on hydro and thermal for too long, and we have not added much more to our energy mix, and that is why we find ourselves here. When you tell me we are developing, you have more people building factories, you have more residential areas coming up, and that's why we are in this crisis, and I tell you, you don't plan. And so if we plan and we know that in the next 20 years our population is going to double, then we plan for it. If we are not planning for it, that is where we get to this point that we have to ration power and give it to industry to be able to produce, for us to for residential areas to sleep in darkness. I know the CPP has one crusader, Engineer Wood, who has been championing this cause, solar and wind. He has a book on it, and if you read the book, there are plausible policies in it. but nobody seemed to care about it for now. And so if the CPP has a man like that who has been talking about it, then I guess when they come in, they are going to tap into his energy. I guess right by now he's tired because he's been talking about it for far too long. He's been moving everywhere talking about it. And so whoever comes in 2017, I expect to solve this problem once and for all, so that if once a while it goes off, we know we are in crisis. But it shouldn't be routine, that when I'm going home and I see that the whole area is dark, it's normal. It is not normal at all.
Okay, I've been signaled that my time is up, but finally there's this bit on education in your manifesto that says that postgraduate programs will be free. Is that it?
You see, you want to retain your what do you call it?
That's the final bit.
You want to retain your brains, okay? And most of them do go out for postgraduate studies and don't come back. When we say free, it's free in terms of the cost that will come to you, but you owe us as a country. And so it's not free in terms of that you finished and then when you sit on the nearest boat and you are gone. It's free in terms of we will support you to get the postgraduate. When you finish, you work for us. We will ask you to work for us. You will have to work for us. So it's not free in those terms.
Is it for all courses?
We will take it one step at a time, because it's not all courses that are immediate need. Okay, we need traumatologists, RTAs, road traffic accidents are an important what do you call it? One of the top things that are killing our people. I mean, this year alone, almost 2,000 people have died from road traffic.
So you prioritize.
So you will prioritize. You will look at it. Where is the greatest need? Who can we support? And we do that. How many psychiatrists do we have in this country? Yet most of us, sitting down probably have one mental issue or the other. We don't have enough psychiatrists in this hospital. And even that, we treat them badly. Okay?
All right.
We will look at that. So it's, if we say postgraduate, yes, on the broad terms, but of course, you would have to prioritize where your need is greatest, and then you will start with that.
Okay, a quick comment. Is it doable? Postgraduate, because medical students are being taken care of, yet some travel outside the country and they do not give us what we are due.
So that we don't train and then they leave. If you're going to monitor, it will be a good idea for us.
Elsewhere, when you are attempting to even do a postgraduate course, it is a full-time employment. You are paid for the ambition to want to even do it. So I think the idea is welcomed. If the CPP wins power, we will chase them. In fact, I'll make sure I am a beneficiary. If they don't win, whoever wins, we will push it at their throat, so they adopt it, because it will go a long way to help us as a country. Elsewhere, they will pay you for deciding to study. Whilst you are studying, you'll be paid to be doing all the research and all the activities, just so that it becomes a benefit to society. So it's a good idea.
Wow. So viewers, there you have it.
Listen, we've done it before. How did we set up the
medical school? You can do it again.
Oh.
Right. So says the second vice chairperson of the CPP, Madam Susan Edu Amankwaa. I also had in the studio Wilberforce Asare with STARR FM, and Martha Crentsil Acquah is with JoyNews. My name is Rebekah Awuah, but let me tell you that over the weekend, it is not only the Cpp Manifesto that was launched over the weekend. Yours truly, we're also awarded for the numerous things we do impacting lives and all over, by no least an institution than the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. And we were awarded with the likes of Honorable Sir Cpp'S and the Managing Director of Ghana Airports Authority, Mr. Charles Asare, and what have you. The first Ghanaian CEO of MTN Ghana was also awarded. And this is just to tell you that whatever you are doing, do it so well, so that even when the angels come to bless you, they will see that even if it's a sweep so well, so that the angels will acknowledge you for it. We want to thank all those who have given us the edge all throughout, most especially our viewers, and we love you so much. Keep supporting us, and by the grace of God, we wouldn't let you down. This is the Reporters Roundtable. The show was produced by Max Esu, Felix Kofi, and Celestine Avi, and we're proudly supported by Health West Ghana, Ashrifia Ware, the Liberty American School, and also Lunch City. Thank you all very much. We are back same time next week. Reporters Roundtable provides viewers with in-depth examination of issues reported on leading media outlets across the world. A lively panel of journalists with comprehensive knowledge in all fields of endeavor, be it politics, health, business, sports, entertainment, information, communication technology, gender, law, international affairs and diplomacy, and a host of others will objectively dissect the matter of contention. On Reporters Roundtable, fairness, objectivity, factuality, and non-partisanship is our hallmark. It's the Double RT Show with Rebekah Awuah. This and every other Thursday from 10 to 12 GMT. Make a date with us. The Reporters Roundtable, all angles, all sides.